Welcome to this short video for all KWS engineers that covers important changes to the FSI Go app. These changes will allow you to capture your working times while you're carrying out your tasks and create a paperless timesheet. We're going to step you through these changes with slides, explanations and demonstrations, and by the end you'll have seen how to capture your time and your overtime accurately against each task. Also how to review and amend your timesheet at the end of the week. The goal of this system is to create paperless timesheets that accurately record all the work that you do. The new changes mean that the app on the tablet will create a timesheet from the times that you press the buttons, capturing your core hours, any overtime and travel time. Now the time is recorded right from when you arrive at the client site and incorporates all the time when you're working on the task right up to the point where you leave the site. This includes the time it takes to sign in, complete the asbestos record and the risk assessment, right through to when you fill out the paperwork after the task is finished. This should make life a lot easier for you, as filling out paper timesheets will be a thing of the past, and you won't need to struggle to remember the times taken on each task. The new timesheet functionality will be available on the tablets from the 16th of October. There will be a trial period during which the paper timesheets will still be used. This will allow the process of reviewing the electronic timesheets to be consolidated. It's anticipated that after about 4 to 6 weeks, we'll be able to switch over to mainly using paperless timesheets generated by the system. These new changes will help us address a number of problems that are causing issues in administration and finance. Specifically, we're finding that engineers are not using their tablets in real time. In fact, over 55% of tasks are not being done by pressing the buttons while the task is being carried out. Also, correct date and times are not always provided in the completion notes. In addition, using paper timesheets is inefficient and does not always tie up with the date and times in the task completion notes. This leads to a lot of time and effort being used to get the right dates and times which we need to price the tasks for the client. This leads to a loss of revenue, limits our growth and an ability to plan effectively. To understand this problem more clearly, we need to know what's used to price the task for the client and what's used to work out the costs to the business. Job pricing is worked out from the times generated from the tablet when the buttons are pressed. So if all the buttons on the tasks are pressed at the end of the shift, we end up unable to price the job correctly. In the example here, it looks like only 50p's worth of work has been done. The job costings come from the timesheet that the engineering team fill out. This reflects what work has been done. Time and effort is required to tie up the costs to create accurate pricing, and this represents a major loss to the business. As a further example, one of our contract teams averages about 900 hours per engineer in terms of job priced. However, when you look at the timesheets, they show 1,400 hours and 200 hours of overtime. That's a 700-hour difference that needs to be reconciled. To make this system really work and get the pricing and the costings correct, we need all the engineers to use their tablets in real time while they're completing their tasks. This will lead to the correct times on the task and make it easier to charge the clients more accurately. If you're not working in real time, when updating an out-of-hour job, for example, you're able to put the real timings in the comments box. The timesheet screen at the end of the task will allow you to amend your time to show your work time accurately, and this includes overtime work and travel. Your line manager will be reviewing the real time that's been entered on the tablet and those that you provide on the task. This system affects your overtime payments, so it's really important to get this right. The timesheet form appears at the end of each task when you're completing or returning to help desk, or rejecting a task because it's not safe, or if you're pausing a task. Before we take a look at the screen, let's look at how time is recorded on the tablet. In this example, the engineer is completing a task in normal time. He starts travelling to his first job at 7:15. He'll complete his van checks, then get on the road. When he arrives on site, he presses the on-site button, and this captures the travel time for the task which in this case is 45 minutes. From this point, the clock is ticking on the task. The engineer will sign in, complete the asbestos record and complete the risk assessment, and then begin work. All of this time is now captured against the task. When the task is completed or returned, the engineer will be asked if they're leaving the client site. If they're staying on site, the system will take them directly to the timesheet form, and it will capture a time of 1 hour. If they're leaving the site, the task will stay open and the time keeps ticking while the engineer packs up, signs out and completes the paperwork. Once the engineer is ready to leave the site, he presses Leave Client Site and the timesheet screen will appear. This will capture a time of 1 hour and 20 minutes. In this case, the engineer needs to record overtime. He's working on a task at the end of the day and his core hours finish at 4:30. By pressing the buttons in real time, the correct travel time is captured as 45 minutes. Once the on-site button is pressed, the clock starts ticking on the task while the engineer signs in, completes the risk assessment and starts work. The engineer works for 3.5 hours on the task and then returns it to the help desk as more work needs to be done. When the timesheet form appears, the engineer is able to adjust the time on the task to reflect his overtime. He's worked 1.5 hours of core time and 2 hours of overtime. Let's take a look at the timesheet form. At the top of the screen, it shows the times and dates that have been captured by the tablet button presses. Under the grey boxes, you can see the total time worked and the total travel time. You're not able to adjust those dates and times here. If dates and times are incorrect, then the engineer can put the corrected dates and times in the timesheet comment box at the bottom of the form, so the help desk can update the task on concept when it's returned to them. If the times need to be adjusted for overtime, it can be done using the white boxes. You can manually take away the time from the core hours and add them to the overtime box. A warning will pop up if the timing has been adjusted by more than 30 minutes. If you're happy to accept those timings, you can proceed. However, we advise you just to put an explanation in the timesheet comments box for your contract manager to review. This system works best when you're pressing all of the buttons on the task in real time. However, we know that there will be times when this isn't possible, for example when filling out the task that has been completed in the past, say an out-of-hours job. If this occurs, then the dates and times need to be added to the timesheets comments box. We need the time that you started travelling, the time that you arrive on site, and the time that you complete your task. If your contract has a contain SLA, we need that time as well. The timesheet form allows you to confirm your normal travel hours and your working time, and adjust the time to include overtime. If the timesheet for the day exceeds 16 hours, you'll need to raise that with your manager, who will assess it and, if approved, ask the help desk to update it in concept. For client meetings, a meet and greet task can be raised by the help desk and assigned to an engineer. This means that the time is captured as part of your daily activity. These are used only if you're working on an activity that is not task related, such as a bulk subcontractor certification or client visits. Some contracts require contract manager approval before creating a meet and greet task for a client meeting. For internal meetings like training or team meetings, downtime is added to an engineer's calendar. Help desk is able to add this for you. After the week is finished, you will need to review the timesheet that the system has created. Your timesheet will be made available to you via an app on your tablet. You can view your timesheet at any time. Shortly, you'll be sent an email with instructions on how to set this up and given your username and password. The timesheet will show the hours you've recorded for working time and travel time using the button presses, and the hours that you've recorded using the timesheet form. It will also show overtime hours, travel time and downtime. You'll need to review the timesheet by Monday and check for errors. Then it's your responsibility to get the changes made. By 3 p.m. on Monday, you need to have emailed any changes that you have through to the help desk. They will update the time records so that your timesheet is updated. Use the email address shown here. Only phone through your changes in exceptional circumstances. If you've not met your core hours for the week, then your overtime may need to be reduced. Contract managers will be reviewing the timesheets from Tuesday. Any changes need to be made by the close of play on Wednesday. After that, it gets submitted to finance. Here are the key points again. We'll be starting a trial period from the 16th of October. This will mean continuing to use the paper timesheets alongside the new paperless system. Once the team and the admin team have got the process working smoothly, we'll be able to phase out the manual timesheets altogether. We think that'll take about 4 to 6 weeks. We need to encourage all engineers to use their tablets in real time for as many jobs as you can. We're aiming at a 98% of all tasks to be worked in this way. If you do have to fill out a task after you've done a job, please put the correct times in the timesheet form comments. By Monday afternoon, the engineers need to have reviewed their timesheets and made amendments by emailing the help desk. Now, to demonstrate what the timesheet process involves. Normally, you won't need to update the timesheets in any way if you're using the tablet in real time. However, there are times you're going to need to adjust the times on the task. We're going to show you what to do if you need to adjust both the timings on the task, used for customer pricing, and the time spent on the task for your timesheet. Then we'll show you how to adjust the task to show overtime. Finally, we'll show you how to view the timesheet report.
In this demo, you'll step through a task that you've literally just finished. Unfortunately, as this task wasn't worked real time, when you get to the timesheet screen, you'll need to correct your timesheet times and also your button press times. This is really important as the timesheet times dictates how we cost the job and payroll, and the button press times work out pricing and how much we charge the customer. You can see two tasks in your task list. They are both green because you accepted them at the start of the day. Any that were rejected are not visible. Tap the topmost task. Now confirm traveling to site. Confirm that you've reached on site. The next step is to complete the risk assessment. Complete the risk assessment as normal. Confirm that the task is safe to continue. You're now in the main body of the task. If there are images you've already taken with a tablet or images of documentation that you want to add, you can do this now. Also, if you want to add an asset change event, you can do this now too. Otherwise, tap Complete to proceed to the Complete Task screen. This is the Complete Task screen. Choose a fault code which is the cause of the breakdown. In this example, the fault is wear and tear. Now add your job notes in a completion comments box. Note the addition of a customer survey box. If a customer is available to sign for a completed job, then they can also rate their satisfaction with the job that you did. For this demo, let's just get the customer's signature. We're now ready to complete the task. Scroll down and tap Complete Task. When you tap Complete Task, you'll be asked if you want to leave the client site. Please note, if you're leaving the client site, then a task time will keep running until you tap Leave Client Site, which you'll see after this message. This allows you to capture time spent leaving the building and completing paperwork before going to the next site. If you're staying on this site to do another job, then you would tap No, but in this example, tap Yes. Here you can see that the Complete Task screen stays open until you tap Leave Client Site. You're now taken to the timesheet screen where you can review the times recorded on this task in the greyed out boxes in the top half of the screen. As we press the buttons around the same time on this task, the timings are all around 12:30. We'll need to correct this as it means the system will only charge the client for a couple of minutes work. Now scroll down and review the timesheet times. These have been automatically calculated from when the buttons were pressed. Now review the timesheet times. You actually worked an hour and a half and travelled for half an hour, but as the buttons were pressed all at once at the end of the task, the system has calculated your working time as 2 minutes. It's important that we correct your timesheet as it affects payroll and also how we cost the job. Now that we've corrected your timesheet times for the task, the next step is to correct the button press times. We need to get this right as it drives what we charge the client. If you've actually spent 2 hours on the job and we only charge 2 minutes, we're making a huge loss. Only help desk can correct this on the system, but we need to tell them what to correct in a timesheet comments box. We'll explain the times we started travel, went on site, completed the job, and left site. Although making sure the button press times are accurate, tapping away on the tablet can be a bit laborious. Remember that if you press the buttons in real time, you can skip this step. When you tap submit, a warning box will appear if you've changed your working or travel time beyond 10%. If you've recorded your information correctly, you can accept and proceed. If not, cancel and make the necessary adjustment in the white boxes. Congratulations, you've successfully amended your timesheet times and also informed Help Desk your button press time so they can correct it on the system. We're now going to look at a task that we will partly work into overtime. This is a task that's been assigned to you, but on investigating, you'll find that it's outside your skill set. Most of the time you spent on it has gone into overtime, and you will need to amend the timesheet to reflect this. Tap on the topmost task. As you're already in the building for this job from a previous job, there's no need to travel. Confirm that you're already on site. The next step is to complete the risk assessment. Here is the risk assessment screen. Complete this as you would normally do. Now tap Save to continue to move on. You've discovered that this job is not your trade. Let's return it to Help Desk. Now you have to select the return task reason, which in this case is different skill set required. Add some detail about the trade required so Help Desk can assign the right engineer to the job. If the customer is around, ask them to provide a signature. You're now ready to send this back to Help Desk. As there's nothing more for you to do on this job, the next step is to enter your timesheet for this task. If you had other jobs to do at this site, you'd tap no, but as this is the last job of the day for you, you will now leave the client site and tap yes. Confirm that you're leaving the client site. This is the timesheet screen for this task only. Here you can see the grayed out fields that you started work at 17:24 and finished at 18:18. You then left the client site at 18:23. Scroll down the screen to make changes. As the system doesn't know when you're working overtime, you'll need to tell it. In this case, the system has recorded almost an hour of core working time. We'll need to split this out as 10 minutes core time and 50 minutes overtime. When you're done, submit your timesheet for this task. Congratulations, you can now go home for the day. This is the timesheet report login screen. You'll have received an email from IT with a link to the timesheet report, including your username and password. Log in to the Engineer Timesheet report. To access the report, tap on the blue disk. Your timesheet report for last week is now displayed. Open the report as a PDF to navigate it more easily. Go to the Export options. Export the report to PDF. Download the report to complete the export. The report has exported successfully. Tap anywhere once in the report to see it in full screen mode. You can see your timesheet details for last week broken down by day in chronological order. It shows you time that you spent on tasks and also any downtime you've had. You can see a summary of your time at the bottom of every day, including any overtime. In this case, you worked overtime on Monday and Wednesday, where you would have manually entered these times in a timesheet form in FSI Go. Zoom into Monday. On Monday, you had a team meeting for 60 minutes between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. This is classed as downtime. You also worked on 3 tasks. Scroll to the right to see the times you spent on these tasks. The green columns are the timesheet times for the tasks worked on. That is, before finishing a task, you'll confirm what time was spent where in the timesheet screen in FSI Go. You'll be familiar with these column names as they're the same as the fields in the timesheet screen. Check that these times are correct as they're used to cost a job and they're also used for overtime payments in payroll. If they need to be corrected, please email Help Desk. You can see that you worked 90 minutes overtime in a last task on Monday. The day's totals are shown at the bottom of each daily table. Monday shows 1 hour 22 minutes normal travel time, no time in overtime travel, 5 hours 45 minutes core working time, and 1 hour 30 minutes overtime. The blue columns are the times extracted from the system when you actually press the buttons. These are the times that give you the initial timesheet timings. These times are used to price the job. You'll need to compare the blue button press timings with the green timesheet durations and check there's not a major difference. Let's have a look at Tuesday, where we've got an example where these differ quite considerably. Now let's see what we did on Tuesday. Here we can see that you worked on 4 tasks on Tuesday, 3 breakdowns and 1 ppm. You also had 180 minutes, or 3 hours, leave. Scroll to the right to see what time was spent on the tasks. Again, but this time for Tuesday, we can see the green timesheet times columns and the blue button press times columns. Compare the blue and green times for the third line, the ppm task. In the green timesheet line, we have 30 minutes travel and 60 minutes core working time, but the blue button press times show that you started travel at 13:31 and reached site at 13:31 and you finished work at 13:32. You would have corrected the timesheet times after pressing the buttons all around the same time at the end of the task. Helpdesk can correct the blue times from reviewing your timesheet completion comments when they operationally complete the task. If you didn't enter these times in the comments, contact Helpdesk. Now review the week's totals. Scroll down the report to see the week's totals. This is the end of the report. Zoom in to see the week's totals. There are 3 lines displayed. The first line is Friday's totals, currently showing 1 hour's downtime. The second line is the week's totals for each column, currently showing 6 hours downtime. And the third line is the grand total, which is the total time, uptime and downtime, spent, currently showing 47 hours 36 minutes. Now let's have a look at the timesheet time spent on tasks. The total times under the green columns show the timesheet times. We can see 13 hours 34 minutes travelling, 0 overtime when travelling, 26 hours, 2 minutes working time, and 2 hours overtime. Congratulations, you successfully reviewed the timesheet report.
Okay, the objective of this video was to show you how to capture both your normal working hours, overtime and downtime on the new timesheet functionality. In addition, we've looked at the process for accessing the timesheet report and the timescales for reviewing and making any changes. We hope you enjoyed it. Good luck and thank you for your participation.